Hello, hello. And we should be live. Testing, testing. Do you hear me? Hello, Tara. Hello, Cats. Hello, Tim Willis. Good evening. Scrolling up to see. There was somebody else here really early on. Savage Cool Boys Menifee. I don't think they're here anymore, but hello, hello, whoever's here. Hello, Paul Kate. Hello. I think this time of night seems to work better for everybody. Is that better? Hey, Elena. Alicia Clinton. Hello. Hello. Give everybody a chance to come in. Because it just went across the first time. Oh, good. You didn't say hello to my cat or my dog. We read scary stories and talk about random crap that comes into our heads. So, yeah, of course. It's a guy's channel, right? Hey, Misty Dawn. Hey. It's kind of how it goes, though. Like I'll collab with a guy and he'll just start a channel and then he'll have like 20,000 subs and I'll still be like left in the dust. I'm not trying to sound like, I know my voice makes it sound sarcastic, but yeah, it kind of is shitty. I'm just going to share this across the board while it lets people come into the live stream. And that was my husband sneezing in the background. Sorry, I'm just sharing this across the platforms, which I already really did, but just in case anybody forgot. You saw who on a Chris Watts discussion channel? You saw Alicia on a Chris Watts discussion channel? Did I miss anybody? I did say hello to Misty, right? Oh shoot, I was sharing it. I'm sharing this. That's what I was doing. Get distracted easily. I bit my tongue, and I know you can feel me on this, but I literally bit my tongue so hard today that I thought it took a chunk out of my tongue, and now it's like when I talk, it literally is causing me pain. Wow, right? But it hurts so bad. I I can't even emphasize it enough. It hurt so much. It's like every time I say a word, it's yeah, hurting. Hopefully you can understand what I say because I really feel like it's inhibiting my ability to speak properly. 8 people are here. Brian Morrow, hey. Cool. You know what's funny is I usually do that in my cheek, not my tongue. Oh my god, it hurts so bad. Anyway, I've found 2 sets of stories here. One is, and I think we were going to do these before, but we never did. The first one are creepy gut feelings that people got that turned out to be they should have trusted their gut feeling type of thing. And the other is 29 people who share their absolutely chilling true stories. So we'll dive into those. Yeah, I probably have lots of scarring in my cheeks from it. Literally, I've done it so much. Is anybody else tongue-tied? Do you know what tongue-tied is? Yeah, no, I think we should do that one first because there's 50 of those, and then if I don't get to the other one, we can save that for another day. So let's dive into the first one. I think I've greeted everyone here. If I haven't, please raise your hand. Kahlest, hello. If I haven't said hello to you yet, please make sure you speak up and let me know. All right. Enoch. It's a cool name. It reminds me of like a Game of Thrones name. Or is that why that is? Or that's your real name though, isn't it? Kahlest. It's really close to Khaleesi. Sometimes I forget a word, then have to describe it. Yeah, I bet. Like, languages could get a bit confusing. Yeah, especially when you know more than one. Okay, so we're going to dive into, I'll come back and see if there's anybody here that I didn't say hello to. Welcome. And we're going to dive into 50 creepy gut feelings. And I can't see the rest of the thing. That turned out to be extremely sinister. You know, that old phrase, trust your gut. All right, let's get into this. Number 1. I don't know if they're numbered. I don't think they're numbered, so we're not going to do that because it's quite lengthy. So, I used to pick up hitchhikers in the 80s and early 90s. I was into Jesus, and I wanted to do good deeds. So one day I saw 2 women who looked rough hitchhiking on the side of I-295 in Jackson, Florida. Based on their appearance, I thought they were leaving an abusive situation or something, so I pulled over to pick them up. As they walked up to my van, they exchanged creepy looks. Sort of a, are we going to do this expression? I got bad vibes and drove off right as they were reaching for my door. I felt bad later, beat myself up for it. What if they really needed help? A few days later, I saw sketches of them on the news. It was Eileen Warnos and her girlfriend. The guy that picked them up after I drove off was murdered and dumped in a swamp. Trust your gut. Holy shit. Wow. Now, I remember when I was a kid, my dad and mom used to pick up hitchhikers all the time. They were kind of hippie-ish. My dad had a motorcycle and yeah. Incense is familiar to me, if that makes sense, but yeah, holy shit. When I when I grew up, I'd think back and think, man, that could have been us so many times. Number 2, and again, I'm gonna lose count after a couple of them. So when I was 19, I was walking home at midnight from a tram stop, and I got the feeling I should pretend I was on the phone. After a minute after doing so, a car pulls up next to me on the empty road. It's 4 guys, all leering at me. The one on the passenger side starts saying things like, "How about we take you for a good time?" And his tone is predatory. Now, I try to keep it cool because I didn't want to look frightened to encourage them that I was prey and started telling them that telling my friend, the fake friend on the phone, there's a group of guys in a car harassing me and describing the car. I hear the driver say to his mate something about my conversation on the phone, and then they take off. I ran home with my phone, ready should they change their mind and come back. A couple of months later, not minutes, I hear on the news that in my area there was a group picking up girls and gang raping them. The description matched the car and the guys in it that followed me that night. I had the sense after my encounter to tell my work what happened and refused to do night shift anymore unless they paid for my taxi home. I shudder to think that what might have happened. I shudder to think what might have happened if I hadn't pretended to be on the phone the night. God, I'm so sorry. Did you guys hear that my computer did like some sort of notification for Yeah, okay. Jeez, sorry about that. Right in the middle of a read. Yeah, yikes. 7 kids, my family, no room for hitchhikers. Ooh. Almost got hit by a semi that ran a red light after I cried all the way home. Yeah, that's scary. Yeah, yikes. Ooh. Whew. I had a really bad dream last night that if you're not new here, then you know that I have them a lot and they're very real. And last night was a really bad one about someone very close to me that almost did pass away a couple times this year or was very, very sick. And last night I had a dream that that person did pass away, and I woke up and cried for like 20 minutes this morning. So it was so real. It was, ugh. Anyway. Next one. My aunt married her second husband, and he just gave me the creeps. She came into the marriage with a daughter who was about 8 at the time. These were family we would only see maybe a couple times per year. And every time, something about him gave me the heebies. Even as a 14-year-old boy, something felt really wrong. Fast forward 6 to 8 years later, and we learned that he had molested my female cousin pretty much from the day he became her stepdad. Years of it. Aunt divorced him, but he's still around because they had additional kids together. I see him comment on Facebook posts of the cousin he molested, and I'd love for him to die a slow and painful death. The sooner the better. Now, what the hell? Why would you still allow this person to contact you on Facebook after he did such things to you? Gross. Ugh. Ew. That one was just disgusting. Next one. I was like 6 years old in the backyard of my best friend slash neighbor, swimming in a 3-foot play pool thing. She went inside to ask for something, and right as she left, a guy on a motorcycle drove down the alley and stopped. The fence was a small chain link fence. Sorry, my tongue hurts so bad it's hard to pronounce words because I bit it so hard earlier. The fence was a small chain link fence, so he definitely saw me and stopped. And I could see him clearly. Like 20 years later, it's still so vivid. He pulled out some gloves and put them on, which is the last thing I saw him doing as I got out and ran through their garage, out the front, and inside my house next door, terrified. He drove around the front, down the street slowly, and about 10 minutes later, shot 2 kids at the park at the end of my street. Holy crap! See, now, if a 6-year-old can trust their gut, you should trust your gut too. Holy shit. Shot 2 kids? Higgling. You dreamed that your mother was a Yakuza vampire? So she was in a Japanese mafia vampire? Damn. Let's see. Let's go up here. I see a comment I missed here. I used to dream of car accidents before they happened, so detailed. I could tell you the day of the week, number of cars, number of occupants, injuries, and fatalities. Oh, that's disturbing. Wow. Wow. All right. Next one. My husband's in a room playing on one of his guitars, but he's got headphones in and he's got the so you can't hear the guitar because it'd be really loud, like it would dominate this entire live stream. But he also started singing along with it, and I don't think he knows that I'm live streaming, so if you hear someone singing in the background, it's my husband strumming along the guitar, not knowing that everyone can hear him singing. Moving on. When I was 15, I hung out with some friends after school and got a ride home that night. No one had been home all day, so there were no lights on inside or out. The friend that drove me home Didn't stick around to see if I made it in. Pause. I always make sure people go inside first. Raise your hand if you do too. Anyways, unpause. So as I'm starting to make my way up the walkway to the front door, I sense someone waiting to meet me there. I calmly stop after taking a couple of steps and say, "Nope," loud enough for the potential criminal to hear me. Then briskly turn around and walk swiftly down the street, cut through a neighbor's backyard to get to the next street over, make my way to the nearest payphone, dial the police, and tell them I think there's someone trying to rob the house. I get back when a police officer arrives and he shines his flashlight around the door and sees footprints in the snow leading from around the house. He follows them and sees that they are around the entire house. There was, in fact, someone waiting for me to open the door that night. I laugh at I laugh at the thought of their surprise to have some teenage girl acknowledge them from a distance and tell them, "Not today." That sounds like something I would have done. Oh my god. Hey, Gypsy. Flatten Earth, hey. Did I miss anybody? This seems to be a really good time for people to stream, right? On a Monday night at 8 o'clock? Did I miss anybody? If I missed you, just say, yep, he's gonna start singing louder, so you guys are gonna get side entertainment while I'm reading. Maybe he'll remember. Oh. Yeah, no Bernadette today. Maybe she's listening and she's just distracted, so. All right. Oh, it is a bad time for you? I'm sorry. Oh, hey, Katie White. Oh, it's 1:20. Are you in England? Yeah, you would be in England, I think, or the UK somewhere. Yeah. All right. I'll come back for the response to that while I read the next story. So, my siblings and I were swimming at a neighbor's house with their kid, but the adults were inside. Randomly, a thought came into my head of, where's my sister at? She easily could have gone inside or have walked across the street and be home, but I felt like I needed to find her ASAP. I got all of us kids to search when we noticed she was at the bottom of the pool, completely blue. She made a complete recovery and is one of the best parts of my life. Wow, they didn't even include, like, how did you get her out of the pool? You missed, like, all the rest of the exciting part of the story. All right. Some people, I swear. Katie is dedicated. I've been a night owl lately. I don't know about you guys. Like, I'm a person that likes to stay up late and get up early. But I've been, like, extremely pushing that lately. Like, I didn't go to bed until, like, 1:30 last night, and I got up at 6 o'clock today. Actually, the reason I got up was because I woke up and had that horrible dream, and I didn't want to go back to sleep and have that dream. So, Antonio, hey! Wow, I haven't seen you on a live stream in a while, I don't think. Okay. We are reading stories about creepy gut feelings that people should have they trusted their guts and they had every reason to trust their gut. Anyway, you get the gist. I've lost track, but we're only like 15 minutes in, so all right, next one. My father started publicly dating a woman shortly after my mother died. I later learned she's likely the woman he'd been having an affair with before she died. I liked her. One evening, my father took me to one side and asked me how I'd feel about him asking her to marry him. I got an awful feeling in the pit of my stomach and felt nauseated. I told my father I didn't want him to when he asked me why, as he thought I liked her. I explained that I did like her, but had a bad feeling, and he said, "That's just a feeling. Those don't mean anything." He already had the ring and proposed straight away. I got really excited about the engagement, the wedding, moving house, and my impending little sister. After the wedding, she changed. After my half-sister was born, she went batshit. She abused me, my full sister, my mother's child, and later my half-sister, her own child. He only left her when my doctor told him something was clearly going on with her that was affecting my health. She was putting a substance that I'm intolerant to in my food, and my father wouldn't believe me and would force me to eat whatever she made. However, I couldn't get to a doctor alone without her to tell them. My maternal grandmother told him if he didn't leave her, she'd go for custody. He accused me of lying for the entire time leading up to that, and has never asked me about any of my attempts to get help since. Wow. I mean, just admit you're wrong. I know that there's a lot of people that won't admit they're wrong. I'm wrong a lot. I'm fine with that. I'd rather be wrong. Yeah, wow. Pooh Bear, hey. Anybody else here that I missed? If you are here and I didn't say hello to you, hello. We're reading 50 people that had a gut feeling about something horrible that turned out to be true. Oh, cool, Antonio. Cool. Wannalee Romaro, hello. Hola. Okay, this one's like 2 or 3 sentences. So, I had a coworker who used to go to parties in high school. Several of the parties in her senior year were at some guy's farm. She went to one and bailed right away, saying it felt weird. The guy who owned the farm was Robert Picton. Holy shit. So, if you're new here and you don't know that I do Serial Killer Saturday, I did one on Robert Picton. And one of the disgusting things about him was that he disposed of the bodies in a factory that then dispersed, like, they made materials for, like, household objects, cleaning materials, makeup. So the fact that he dumped bodies there for like 20 years, the remnants of the victims, and it's pretty unknown how many people he actually killed, could literally be all over the world. It's really disgusting. If you haven't watched that, I recommend it, or at least read about the guy because he was really gross. Ugh. I don't know. I don't always know when I'm right, but when I do, I'm damn sure I know when I'm wrong. It just reminded me of one of those Dos Equis commercials when I read that, Brian. Okay, on to the next one. I'm a member of a local Facebook group to help moms find babysitters. One of the admins was a mid-20s man who babysit for tons of kids in the area and specialized in caring for nonverbal and autistic children. His posts always gave me and some of the other members a weird vibe, but he was loved by this group as a whole. He was just arrested for molesting 2 children and possession of child porn. Bail is set at $2 million. It's estimated that he babysat for over 500 children in our area. Who knows how many he abused? Yeah. Gross. Ew. Yep, and his meat grinders. Kahlest, aren't you the one that requested him? Now that I'm thinking of it, I think you're the guy that you're the no, not the guy. You're the person that requested Robert Picton. Am I right? Antonio, put a link in either here. Hey, Cage Misery. Wow. Hey. Wow. I haven't seen you in a long time. Antonio, leave a link. Also, Cage Mystery has a channel, and Antonio has a channel. Kahlest has a channel. Anybody that's got a channel, raise your hand so everybody that knows can go and check out your channels, okay? All right. Next one. Before my husband and I were married with good jobs, we were young and poor and didn't care where we lived. We rented out a shitty little house behind the landlord's house that was clearly a shed poorly transformed into a small studio space. At the time, I worked late nights and my husband worked mornings, so I would sleep till around 12 and work all night. The landlord, Greg, who was this bald old man with a heavy Russian accent. He was kind of odd but seemed nice. So was his wife. He'd made odd comments and invite me into his house to FaceTime. At the time, it was a different program. I can't remember what the OG online face chat was, with his friends in Russia. One time I complained the chipmunks were crawling into the roof. Asked to patch it up better, and he said, "Bah, no need. I take care." And I swear to God he would snatch them up with his bare hands and break their necks. I wish I was making that up. Weird, he made me feel uneasy, but seemed kind to us. When we first moved in, I kept waking up feeling uneasy when I should have been exhausted. I'd feel nervous and get up to check the doors, check the closets, etc. One week, my husband went away to visit his father, and I was alone and literally felt like I was constantly being watched. The bedroom window was in the backyard, and it was heavily wooded, and I'd hear crunching of leaves and footsteps the entire time. My husband said I was being paranoid because I was alone, and I thought so too. But then, that same week my husband was away, I offered to watch my friend's dog. So I get home from work around 2 a.m. and get to sleep around 3 or 4. Wake up around 8 or 9 a.m. to the dog barking and growling like a madman. Now, because the space was similar to a studio, we had no doors on anything besides the bathroom. I spring up and see Greg the landlord literally in the living room, hand on the front door just frozen. He was caught off guard by the dog, and I yelled, "What the hell are you doing?" I thought the house was on fire or something, and I know that the front door was locked. I always locked it. He quickly apologized and walked out. When I shook from my sleepy daze, I realized maybe this wasn't a one-time thing. I took a shower, dressed, and walked up to their house. Landlord's car wasn't in the driveway, but his wife was home, and I told her what had happened and asked why he would use his keys to go in the house without giving me notice. She was nonchalant about it and replied, "It's his house. He can do what you want. He liked to check on things from time to time." That's my horrible Russian impressionist. I flipped out on her. Clearly this was happening often, and the eerie feeling I was getting, I'm 10,000% sure that Greg was literally coming in the house, watching me sleep, completely invading my privacy when he knew I was alone and asleep. We got out of there as soon as we could. He actually tried to take us to small claims court for breaking the lease, but I already reported him to the police and found out the space we were renting wasn't even up to code or on the books to be rented. Ha ha. Ha ha. Got violations. Ha ha. Let's see here. Anybody here that I didn't say hello to yet? Let me know. Let me see. I'm going to scroll it for a second and make sure I don't see that I missed anybody, but if I didn't say hello to you, it's because I didn't see you. Okay. All right. Moving on. Dogs, you are awesome. Okay. Just reading the chat for a second. Okay. So the first friend that reached out to me in high school invited me to a sleepover that became a weekly occurrence. Met her stepdad, and instantly my stomach was unsettled. He was weird. Tried too hard to seem cool, strong, useful, and stuck around us when we set up the sleeping bags in the living room and hung out. I kind of understood why he lingered the first night, but the lingering continued throughout the couple of years I stayed over. I told my mom I thought he was weird and suspicious, and she told me never judge a book by its cover. One day, I found out that she had been continuously molested by him for years, and had told her to bring friends over so he didn't molest her. Her mother admitted it was so he could groom the friends. He was physically aggressive with me one day, and I never went back. Took a month or so, but I couldn't take it and gathered as much evidence that I could. Things that used to mean nothing were suddenly glaringly obvious that something was wrong, and went to the police. I was something I never really wanted. It was something I never really wanted to be true, but it happened before. The same sort of something is very wrong here situation has happened to me a few other times with similar or same results, and I just knew that it couldn't be wrong. But I did question myself along the way. And then it ends there. Like, it didn't even say if he was charged. That's annoying. Follow through, people. Um, duh, 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 duh. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. Okay. Again, if you weren't here, I bit my tongue really hard today. I'm having a hard time pronouncing everything. I already have a hard time with that. So it's like doubly hard. So I'm like, did. Sorry in advance, everyone. But I bit my tongue so hard today. I literally stood there for like 15 seconds in shock that it happened before I was like, ow. And it was Home Alone. So, I mean, anyway, next one. This happened a couple of years ago at the church I attend. One day, this young lady in her mid-20s started attending our services. She was very polite and friendly and seemed eager to be part of our congregation. After several weeks, she started bringing her brother, who I'll call Brody, along with her. He was slightly younger than her and seemed nice enough. The more time I spent around him, however, I began to realize how different he was. He was very socially awkward, with odd mannerisms and speech patterns, but I just assumed he was autistic or something, so it wasn't that big of a deal. I didn't become alarmed until I noticed how fixated Brody was on becoming our pastor and his wife. He constantly followed them. That's how it's written. It doesn't make sense though. Okay. He constantly followed them around like a puppy, begging for their attention and growing upset when they associated with anyone besides him. Once while walking beside our pastor, I looked across the parking lot to see Brody giving me the most hateful stare you can imagine. I was instantly creeped out. From that moment, I knew something was dangerously wrong with this man, but no one else seemed to notice it. Fast forward several weeks later. Sorry, my tongue hurts so bad. I walk into church for the Wednesday night service to find our pastor alone, without his wife or children. He tells me he's sent his family away to a safe place for a few days. Apparently, Brody had called the pastor's wife and had threatened to rape and murder her. Luckily, he couldn't find a car to borrow, or he very likely would have carried out his threats. After the police came and placed him in custody, it was revealed that Brody had done this exact thing several times before to other women. It was all such a surreal experience. I've wondered if perhaps I should have spoken up about my early suspicions, but part of me thinks I would have just been laughed off or dismissed. I mean, don't you think people would notice someone who hovers around someone brand new and follows them all over the place? That's creepy. It's creepy. Just got booted out of this video for some reason. Stupid YouTube. Oh, excuse me. My throat's a little bit dry. Go to the bus stop to fetch mom and help with the shopping bags. Okay. Yeah, we'll be here for a bit. I've got a lot of stories. Mwahaha. This next one's kind of short. It says, when I was about 12 or 14, I babysat for a couple with 2 kids, and the dad gave me the creeps. That seems like a theme in this one. 15 years later, my mom called me and said he was going to prison for raping the daughter over a long period of time. I wonder if it had started yet when I was babysitting them. It's just so sad to think about that poor, cute little girl I babysat. Ugh. Gross. Poor kid. Ew. Next one. 4 students of mine won the first prize for a project they did, and we all got a free trip to London. We had spent the day sightseeing and were exhausted, so we got an ice cream and sat on a bench in a park to relax. A couple of minutes later, I noticed this couple, not guy, couple, walk by slowly, staring at us. My spidey senses go mental. I don't like these people for some reason. She walks by, sits on the bench next to ours, and he sits on the bench across from her. They aren't talking, just looking at each other. That's when I notice her reaching into her pockets. I jump up, grab my students, and run out of the park. My poor students are confused as fuck and wondering what the fuck is wrong with me when all of a sudden we hear screaming. Turns out the lady stabbed a couple walking through the park, trying to rob them. Scares the ever-loving fuck out of me knowing that had I not gotten my students out of there, we would have been stabbed and robbed. Oh my God. I feel like I'm taking away all the hope and joy of the season that we just got through. We are reading 50 people who had gut feelings about something bad that turned out to be true. And I don't know what number we're on because they're not numbered. Dun, dun, dun. And we are not even halfway through them, so you're good. I woke up one morning and saw that I was late for school. I got up, and on the way I'm debating if I should take a shortcut to get there earlier and decided against it. Now, as I'm walking along, there was a man who was sitting on a chair near the sidewalk. He stopped me and asked me if I was late for school, and he essentially started a conversation with me. Now, I was close to school, so I figured killing a few minutes before my next class started wouldn't be a big deal. As this man keeps talking, he starts suggesting that I enter his house because he's got an Xbox One and a PS4 in there, and that he wanted to split screen with someone else. I rejected the offer, and he kept trying to persuade me to enter his house. This guy then gets in front of me, essentially blocking off the sidewalk, and starts asking why I don't want to enter his house. I gave him a BS reason, said I needed to get going. At this point, I'm thinking I have to get out of here because this guy is giving me the creeps and I don't know what he's capable of. I tried walking past him, but this fucker put his hand on my shoulder and I decided to just run off then and there, which is what you should have done in the first place. At the end of the school day, I'm walking past the same place with a group of friends, and outside of this guy's house are a bunch of police officers and him sitting on the curb with his wrist cuffed. Feel like I dodged a bullet that day. Yeah, you did. Like, who does that anyway? I don't think it takes a genius to figure out that that guy didn't have good intentions, does it? Oh my goodness. Okay, next one. There's such a thing. Okay. There is such a thing as a feeling of impending doom when your body's like, yo, you're about to die. And it's a real thing. This is how it's written, so I'm just reading it that way. I had not been feeling well, and all of a sudden I sat up and had a distinct feeling of you're going to die soon if you don't do something. I drove myself to the ER, and on the way was getting chest pains. I went in and told them, and they took me to the back. After some tests, there were a lot of people around me injecting me with a lot of different stuff. Turns out, I had a pulmonary embolism, blood clot in my lung, which at any second could have gone to my brain and killed me then and there. The doctor said if I had left it any longer, I would have been dead. Damn. Yikes. I don't know if I should ask anyone if that's happened to them, but yeah, impending doom. I don't like Dean Koontz very much, but his Odd Thomas series is good. Did you guys ever see that movie, Odd Thomas? The kid that plays in that movie died. And what's weird is I found that out because when I watched him in that movie, he like as a spitting image of one of my friends, and I was telling my friend about it, so I went to like copy the name and send it to him, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this he passed away." Isn't that crazy? He was really young too, and I can't remember why he died. It was like a fluke thing. It wasn't anything like bad, but movie was let down to the next book series, the Odd Thomas one. Oh, I know it. I can't remember. Oh, car accident. Yeah, I was like, what? I really liked him too. All right, moving on to the next one. So I had a student in an adult course I was teaching. She was bright, responsible, and quiet in class. Then every week I'd get these incredibly personal, long love letters from her about how she just knew I was checking her out and how thrilled she was because her marriage was in shambles and she needed love. I had never once spoken to her, and she was obviously not seeing reality. I tried multiple times to bring her back to the real world and shut her down. The semester ended, I reported her, but nothing happened and I never heard from her again. Years later, the same month I moved to a different neighborhood, a woman just a block away from my new house killed her husband and herself. Guess who it was? Wow, that's crazy. That's horribly sad, actually. Oh, whoa. King's short stories are my new fave. I gotta say, I'm kind of obsessed with short stories, obviously. I want to have a whole channel based on them. Yeah. The Dead Zone or The Shining. My husband loves The Shining. Oh no. Can you guys, if anybody remembers his name, will you put it in? I cannot remember his name. It almost sounded Russian. Darn it, I can't remember his name. I can see it almost, but it's not. Okay. I'm gonna go to the next story and I'll figure out what his name is before this chat's over. So I was at my grandparents for a gathering, and me and some of the other older kids were playing catch or tag in the front yard. I can't exactly remember. Doesn't matter. The younger kids were playing in the backyard, doing whatever the hell kids do. While playing, I could swear I heard a kid crying, wailing, screaming sound, but it was very quiet and distant. It was one of the most horrific screams I've ever heard. But I asked the others, and they didn't hear a thing, and all insisted it was nothing. I don't know why, but I felt absolutely dreadful and terrified, yet everything was fine. So I decided to go check it out. I run into the backyard, and it turns out that my little sister, 4 or 5 years old at the time, was bleeding severely. She was covered in blood and trying to crawl toward the house. I swear it was out of a damn horror movie. Looking back, I can't believe this actually happened. Long story short, my little cousin, 7, 8 at the time, decided it was a good idea to play catch with some broken glass he found in the backyard and ended up cutting her jaw very deeply. Kids are dumb. That's what I didn't say that. That's what the person that wrote the story said. That's terrible. Playing catch with broken glass. Okay. 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 Yes. What was his name? Anton Yelchin. Thank you. Salute. He was, I think he would have done a lot of cool movies, actually. But, okay. Next story. Family friend from my uncle's church was on vacation with us when I was around 11 or 12. I wanted to go for a walk in the woods. My mom said no. He jumped in and insisted he would go with me. Ew, right away, ew. She says, yeah. As we're walking, I'm getting this weird vibe from the guy. He keeps insisting on taking pictures of me. I keep getting more creeped out. Eventually, he's got me cornered, and my mind just goes into total fight or flight. He's got his hands on my thighs, and there's nowhere I can go. So I'm plotting in my head how I'll launch myself at him and gouge his eyes out. And just as I'm about to make my move, a relative who knew he was a pedo and was worried about what would happen makes his presence known. A few years later, the family friend went to prison for raping a bunch of kids, including most of my cousins. I'm pretty sure I was almost raped that day. Yeah. Why did the family keep letting him around the kids after knowing that? That's fucked up. That's really messed up. Checking the chat, checking the chat. Hey, creeper. Hey. If anybody else is here, make sure you. So if you're new here, my husband's in the other room playing guitar and he has headphones in and occasionally he sings along and he's doing that. So if you hear somebody doing that, that's him and he doesn't know everyone can hear him. I don't even know if you guys can hear it anyway. This next sentence is literally 2 sentences long and it just says, one day about 2 weeks ago, I woke up and didn't feel pregnant anymore and just found out today that the baby has no heartbeat. Oh, that's a bad gut feeling. That's any ladies that have in the chat that have been pregnant. Those are literally nightmares you have. There's all kinds of nightmares you have when you're having a baby. All right. Check the chat just a second more. Vinny Rad 82. Hello. One for the road. Okay. Literally lit the guy on fire. Yeah, I know. No, that dude would have to I'd be like, you put yourself on a island or I'll do it for you. How about that? Yeah, there's no way I'd just let that slide. And that's a problem. Seen it in too many cases where people let it slide and cover up and you're going to ruin their life. Anyway. Next one. So back when I was like 9, my dad used to go treasure hunting with some World War II relics. He was a collector. Oh, he liked to hunt for them. Now he had a bunch of friends he'd do this with and had quite a bit of connection. So now he was introduced to a guy, let's call him Ivan for now. They quickly became friends, but my mother never liked him. She always had a bad feeling about Ivan. She tried telling this to my dad, but he would just shrug it off. One day, my dad decided to go on an expedition. My mother begged him not to go because she felt a sense of dread over him going. A day later, my father was missing. The police were called, and an investigation was started. My mother asked around of his friends group after a couple of days to find out the last he was seen with was Ivan, and that they went somewhere near the dam. A search party was organized, one of them led by Ivan himself because he was near the dam with him a couple of days ago, before he disappeared. My mother, being skeptical of him, organized a second search group with his previous old friends and family. Hours later, a body had been discovered by the second search group. Hastily buried beneath a thin layer of leaves and wet dirt lied the body of my father. He had been there for days because the body was in very bad shape. The rain didn't help. The face was almost unrecognizable. That night, my mother decided to change the locks on the door because his body was looted and the keys were with him. Good thing she did that, because the next night, she heard keys clanging and scratching against the lock. She called the police, but by the time they had gotten there, he was gone. Here's what really happened. Ivan and my dad had went alone to go looking for World War II relics, and when the opportunity came, Ivan shot my father with an old double-barreled in the back, took his belongings with the plan to rob us and possibly kill us during the night, if not for my mother changing the locks. He also purposely led the investigation as far as possible from the real place the body was hidden. Good thing the bastard is rotting behind bars now. Wow, that's terrible. Phew. Is this making anyone else depressed? I don't want to make you guys depressed. Fuck. My kids are grown now, but I advise everyone with a kid never make them give hugs. Yeah, that's... Yeah. Yeah, some of these are creepy, and then some of them are just really sad. Here's the next one. So a few years ago, sorry, my tongue hurts so bad. It's getting easier to pronounce things, but whoo, blah, blah. Sorry about that. A few years ago, I was out drinking for a friend's bachelorette party. I knew I was too drunk to drive, so I called my then boyfriend for a ride. As I was hanging up the phone, I thought to myself that I should ask him to drive his car instead of his motorcycle, but I didn't say anything. On the way home, we were sideswiped by a drunk driver in a Suburban. The front wheel of the motorcycle got caught in the wheel well, and she dragged us down the street for about a block and a half. The only reason she stopped was because a cop pulled her over. She was so drunk, she didn't even notice that she ran us over. To add to the trust your gut thing, my boyfriend only had one helmet, and I tried to get him to wear it, but he insisted that we weren't going anywhere until I was wearing it. My head hit the pavement pretty hard, but his didn't. If I hadn't been wearing the helmet, things would have gone much differently that night. I can't believe you guys survived. That's a miracle right there. Wow. Damn. Yeah. I did a Zodiac one, if you didn't see that one. It's Unsolved. I think it's one of my bigger videos. I was trying to go in order of that. Yeah. In Michigan, I don't know who... I know a couple people in the chat live in Michigan, and there's a no helmet law, and I'm thinking, you have no chance if you don't have a helmet on. Like, I don't know how you're going to survive that. And I see way too many people cut me off in a car. There's no way I'm getting on a motorcycle without a helmet on and thinking I'm going to be all right. Crazy. I want to do some Son of Sam too, but I have like at least 8 serial killers set aside in advance. I saw a guy get decapitated clipping an SUV, and he had on a helmet. Yeah, right. I know you have nothing around you to protect you, and you can't predict what other drivers do. That's what I try to tell people when I'm worried about them driving. I'm like, I'm not doubting your skills. I'm doubting other people's skills, because it seems like drivers have gotten like way worse. Yikes. No, you cannot. You cannot ride in the truck bed here anymore. You can't even have your animal in the back. Thank you, Paul. Thank you. Moving on. When I was 13, Mom started dating a guy named Ted. This is obviously not the guy's real name. So Ted was a therapist who lost custody of his own daughter after a few years earlier for some unknown reason. Ted also had issues with the law for illegal gun possession. I did not like Ted, but my mom did. She liked him so much, she let him behave as if he were my father. He helped me transfer schools, drove me to class every morning, and even gave me swimming lessons. And this is where the story turns. Really? I don't think it takes a genius to know where this is going. While teaching me how to float on my back one afternoon, Ted touches my ass. Not a supportive lift to prevent me from sinking. Okay, trigger alert. I don't know where this is going. But a full-on jerk me by my bikini bottom grab that exposed me underwater. It felt wrong, but I didn't have the words at the time to explain why. What also felt wrong was how often Ted talked about sex, how much he enjoyed it, how much his clients were having it, and what deviant things they were into. During these early morning car rides, Ted would also ask me sometimes how much I knew about sex and where I was in my own physical development. Like, remember him asking me about my periods a lot. Oh my God. Then one day, Ted disappeared. My mom didn't say why, just that it was over. Okay, cool. Fast forward 10 years. Bored in my apartment, I suddenly feel like Googling Ted. And holy shit. I found a cease and desist letter from the state dated a few years back that told him to shut down business. Turns out Ted wasn't a therapist at all. He was a pervert who created his own private practice so he could prey on vulnerable women. In fact, he was in a dom/sub relationship with several of his patients at the same time he was courting my mom and nudging his way into our church community. Told my mom about it. She had no idea. Told a family friend about it. He said, I knew I didn't like that guy. Then they both told me Ted had tried to get in touch with them recently. Both declined to meet him, of course. But my protective instincts kicked in. I said, step up again. You direct him to me. I will confront him and call the cops on him myself if he dares to come near my family. Yeah, it's too bad that the child had to protect herself against the adult. Gross. What's this now? Guy wrote a book about what now? Gling, have you heard about the theory that there was no zodiac? It's just a bunch of unconnected murder. Oh, there's all kinds of theories. I think now if they did some more genetic testing, Katie, they would know exactly who it was. I'm confident in that. Because genetics has a trail. So you'd at least know who his relatives were. Ted deserved to disappear. Mm-hmm. I have many stories about that too, but I'm just gonna keep those to myself. When my mother started dating her second husband, this is in the next story. The moment I saw him, I knew something wasn't right. Okay, so apparently these are all creepy dude stories with a few others sprinkled in. I'm so sorry, you guys. If you guys want me to go to the haunted stories after this one, then I totally will. Because we're almost at the halfway point with this one, so I'll let you guys vote in the chat. When my mother started dating her second husband, the moment I saw him, I knew something wasn't right. But being a kid, I had no idea what. Fast forward to their wedding. From the moment they were married, he turned into a physically and emotionally abusive piece of shit. Luckily, after a while, my mother got up the courage to kick him out, get a restraining order, and get a divorce. I only realized a few years ago that there was something else up with him as well. He would come into my room at least once every day, as far as I know, only when I was awake, sit on my bed, and try to talk to me with a creepy smile on his face. His hand would be on my leg, and he'd get closer and closer to me as his hand got higher and higher. Then he'd get about to my knee, suddenly stand up and walk out. I only told my family about that a few years ago, and I'll never forget the horror on their faces. As far as I'm aware, he didn't do anything to me other than what I said above, but fuck knows. A year or so after my mother kicked him out, he beat a guy half to death with a pool cue. Never saw the inside of a cell. What? It's amazing to me how these fucks never go to jail. Or get back out. Earl Van Best, who was that? Okay. It's still an unsolved case. You can exhume a body, but they've got he licked one of the envelopes. Yeah, you need to go watch my video. I'm estranged from the mother of my kids, and this shit is in my nightmare. Oh, really? And this shit is my nightmare. Oh, did she do stuff to your kids? I'll come back. I'll come back. Next story. Okay, this one doesn't seem to be a creeper story, thank God. Okay. So I used to clean vacant houses for a living. One day I was working at a house near the end of a dead-end street, and there was maybe 6 or 7 houses on one side of the street for an intersection with a stoplight. So it was pretty heavy traffic area. I was cleaning out the property just fine when my spidey sense went off the charts. I was inside the house, but I pretty much dropped everything, got in my car, and started to drive out of there. On the corner, I saw a weird looking guy that had a nasty feeling about him. When I got home, it was all over the news. The guy was now known for being a cop killer, making the start of his career right on that street corner about 15 minutes after I hoofed it. Told my boss I wasn't going to go back to that property, and he totally understood. Yikes. Holy moly. Checking the chat. Oh, ew. Sorry about that, creeper. Morbidly curious. Hello. Yeah. I'm going to try and skip any more of those stories because they just seem to be a total downer. There's so many of them. Those people seem to get away with that shit repeatedly, and it's just going to take people taking care of it themselves. Gypsy, if you're still in the chat, you would have seen that. I don't know if it made national news, but it made Michigan news that there was a guy. He was a 40-year-old dude, and he was just convicted of having. I don't know if he actually did anything to any kids, but he was convicted of having a bunch of kiddie stuff on his computer. And when he went to jail, the prisoners beat him to death because even the prisoners know that you can't rehabilitate them. That there's nothing you can do. And at some point, the dude's going to get out of jail and do the same thing or something worse. So I don't want to go off on a tangent. That's a squirrel, but that's an ugly squirrel. Okay, yeah, we're going to keep politics and religion out of the chat. Yeah, it was in the news, Gypsy. So I think the creeper stories are exceptionally unnerving because so many people know 1 or 2 people who never got right. Exactly. It's frustrating because when you look back, you're thinking, why didn't I say anything? And then you're thinking, why didn't they say anything? And it's just because people refuse to believe that people are that awful. Yeah. Hey, we're halfway through 50 people who had a creepy gut feeling that turned out to be totally validated, unfortunately. MC. Okay. I'm gonna let my dog out. I'm mobile, so I can do that. And that is a nice thing to be able to do. Okay, so I'm gonna try and walk and let my dog outside and read the story. Try not to trip on anything. Oh, okay. Okay, so this is different. I had a dream that my brother died the night before he did. Dream Friday night, found out of an overdose Saturday. But the dream was so real that I thought it had actually happened for years. My parents didn't tell us he died until Sunday, but I knew he was dead the whole weekend and was confused as to why they weren't acting like I didn't know, acting like I hadn't seen what I'd seen. I don't really believe in premonitions or anything, but that's something I'll never be able to explain. Still wonder how different life would be if the dream had woken me up and I went and said something to him. It was probably the defining event. That was probably the defining event of my life, when including everything that followed. That's crazy. That's crazy. Check the chat. Sorry about that. Oh, hey, cats. Hey. Hey, John. All right. Ooh, nice. Congratulations, Kahlest. Yes. All right. So, those of you joining us, we're reading 50 people that had a creepy gut feeling that turned out to be true. And we are about halfway through. A lot of them are pretty gut-wrenchingly awful, so if you do listen back, I'm sorry in advance. Okay. Next one. Let's see here. Excuse me. Came back to work a week after off for Christmas vacation and immediately noticed something was off with my friend. I had no clue what it was, but I just knew something was wrong with him. Couldn't explain what it was. I kept asking him if he was all right, but he kept saying everything was fine. On the second day, he came up to me and asked me how to do something that I knew that he knew how to do. I had trained him on how to do it. I became very concerned at this point. The third day was New Year's Eve, so we only had a half day and he was working on a spreadsheet. End of the day came around. I took one look at it, and I could have printed it out and called it modern art. That's how horrifying it looked. I called the boss over, and he pulled him off of it, which caused my friend to break down and start crying because he couldn't understand that he had done anything wrong. I was moving to a new place over our day and a half off, so I simply told him that something was wrong with him and he needed to get some help. We came back in for one day on Friday. My friend wasn't there. I learned that he was in the hospital because of a heart attack. Later on, we learned during the days leading up he was suffering from mini strokes, and that all of my constant nagging about if he was all right. Is that you're trying to be quiet through the kitchen? Okay. Mini strokes. He was having mini strokes for days, and that all of my constant nagging about if he was all right ultimately led to him thinking that maybe there was something wrong with him. And so he called a taxi to take him to the ER on New Year's Eve, where they immediately recognized that he was having a heart attack. A doctor later told him that if he had not gone to the ER when he did, he would not have woken up if he had went to sleep that night. Because of this, my friend says that I saved his life through the power of our friendship. Oh my gosh. Yikes. Oof. Bella texting, eh? Text 2517. Hey, yeehaw. Hello. And my grandpa was born and raised in Texas, too. He's got a whole bunch of family there. We could be related and you don't even know it. He had like 8 brothers and sisters. The couple of stories I read about women who escaped the Ted Bundy had a gut feeling he was up to no good, despite his charm. Same with Rodney Akala and his dating show that refused to go with him. Wow. If you're just joining us, we're reading 50 people who had a creepy gut feeling that turned out to be true. And I think we're just now hitting the halfway point. I'm just gauging by the bar on the side because these are not numbered. Okay. So about 15 years ago, I left work early, like really early, for no real reason. I got home and all these kids were standing near my door, apartment complex next to a pond, and they were all staring at me and not saying anything. I went inside, dropped my bag, and it wouldn't stop weighing on me how weird it was, so I went back outside. I spoke to them asking what was going on, and one kid meekly asked if I could help his friend. A kid I didn't see was sitting on a curb surrounded by all the rest. They had all jumped the fence next to the pond, except he slipped and impaled the flesh of his inner thigh and got stuck. The kids helped him pick him up off of it, but he was just sitting there bleeding everywhere with a bunch of meat hanging out. I got him treated in an ambulance on the way. He came back a few weeks later with his family to thank me. They said that I saved his leg. Whoa. Wow. I'd be curious to know if just like the story before, like did you guys ever have a gut feeling that saved somebody else's life? One time my husband and I were going to, and this happens to us a lot. Big shocker here, but we were on our way to one of his brother's houses, and we were driving behind this guy who was swerving all over the road. I mean, it was bad. He was like going in both lanes, going off to the side. And I called the police and said, I believe we're driving behind a drunk driver. And they asked where we were. And I told them where, like, what direction we were going in. And I said that I wasn't going to stop following the guy because I was afraid that he was going to end up killing someone. He almost took out several mailboxes. And I waited until we got to a specific intersection and I saw the cop and then I pointed because he knew what our car looked like and the guy's car looked like. And I saw the cop and I pointed and the cop pulls the guy over right after a light at an intersection. And it's like one of those places where there's not like, there's a curb, right? When you're not like right in a city intersection, it's not curbed up, it's like flat. But this guy like pulled over as if there was no curb there because he was so drunk. I don't know if I saved that guy's life or not, but he looked like he was like in that seat sleeping. Oh my God. My friend had a gut feeling that saved my life. My friend once saved me from drowning, if that counts. I slipped under the water and she got a bad feeling that I wasn't swimming and pulled me back up. Yeah, it counts. Yeah. Let me see. Somebody said something about a bus. Once I didn't get on a bus and that bus got into an accident. Oh yeah, that's crazy. Trust your gut. I don't care if anyone calls me stupid. I'm trusting my gut. Next story. About 6 years ago, my sister and her family were visiting. Her daughter was 4 months old at the time and was napping in the house while the adults were hanging outside. I went into the house to grab something and glanced over at my niece. She was limp and strange looking, like spaced out. Freaked me out, so I picked her up. Panicking a bit, I hand her over to my brother-in-law. They had just put BIL like I'm supposed to. Anyway, by this time she was back to normal, so we shrugged it off. I said something like, "Oh, I forgot how babies look when they sleep." Within 1 to 2 days, my niece started having 10 seizures a day. What I witnessed was a seizure. That was the beginning of a multi-year nightmare of seizures, hospital visits, neurological testing, and many different types of anti-seizure meds. She was diagnosed with a seizure disorder, and thankfully the doctors found meds that worked. Her seizures went away, and she was eventually weaned off of her medication. Been seizure-free for 4 years, and now she's a beautiful, happy young lady. Oh my God, we read a story that had a happy ending. I had been internal clapping. Yay. But that's not what you guys came for, did you? Oh my goodness. It didn't end horribly. I can almost feel the disappointment. Okay, next one. One night during finals my junior year at university, I received a text from my father at 1:30 a.m. Just simply says, "I love you." My heart sunk. My family is not affectionate. My family doesn't say, "I love you." My father does not text me. For some reason, I woke up 3 minutes after receiving the text while my phone was on silent. I called to see if he was okay. No answer. I immediately got in my car and tore off to my dad's place. I let myself in and found him in bed with a handful of pills and a loaded pistol in his right hand. He immediately broke down in tears and I held him for what seemed like an hour. I saved my father's life that night and have always checked in on him since. He's in a much better place now. Holy shit. That's way too close to home for me. Ooh. I think moms have a special intuition about their kids. Ty, Brian, and Katie, I think so too. Yeah. Drunk driver hit us. That trip, I refused to let our kids go to the store with us, and I'm so grateful I told them no and meant it. Yeah, it's crazy. Next story. So I met some guys in a large game of it says D&D, but that means Dungeons and Dragons, right? That a mutual acquaintance had invited us to. Once the campaign was over, some of us started a smaller group with a group friend of mine and another's former roommate friend. That was a little confusing anyway. I just thought that the former roommate was a bit of a harmless burnout, forgot names, and was a tad spacey at times. Even caught a couple movies with him at the theater. During one such outing, he got a call at the restaurant. We were having beers at pre-show and told someone to hold on 1 minute until I get out of this movie. He said it was his meth dealer. I laughed thinking he was cracking one of his oddball jokes. I asked the friend that introduced us, and he said that he knew he dabbled in drugs, but thought he mostly just smoked weed or ate edibles. That's not the same thing as meth, dude. Turns out this guy was taking meth on the weekends and staying up for most of it before crashing enough to go to work on Monday mornings. I think at some point he stopped waiting for it to be the weekend. We had a board game / card night planned and ended up playing a really fun game called Smash Up. We got started learning the rules, waiting for the old roommate to get over. He comes walking in, and immediately I know something is bad bleached dye job on his hair, and his appearance is very rumpled, and overall he looks strung out as fuck. We welcome him in, and he explains the rules and starts. We explain the rules, and we all start playing. The cards you plan on playing may change radically depending on what the person ahead of you plays, so each person usually takes a couple of minutes before playing to get the maximum score. The old roommate guy is getting more and more impatient, and we're joking around, and he looks at the guy directly across from him and says if he doesn't play his hand, he'll fucking kill him. Everyone else nervous laughs, but I can tell that this is no joke. Just then he slams his cards down, gets up with such force that he knocks his chair over backwards, and charges around the table trying to get swings in while I'm holding and shoving him back. He finally stops, just grabs his shit and storms out the front door before ominously saying he'll be seeing us around real soon. By the time we all calmed down, he had blocked all our phone numbers and all of us on social media. The guy he tried to attack was looking over his shoulder for a few weeks. This was over a year ago, and nobody has seen or heard from him since. Yeah, because he probably died from fucking taking meth. Pretty sure there's not full of vitamins. I mean, last I checked, you don't have to have they don't have to enter your date when you buy vitamins at the store for a reason, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yuck. Don't do meth, kids. It's not gonna end well. Or don't do any. All right. Anyway, next one. Years ago, I was staying the night at someone else's house, maybe an hour from where I lived. That night, I was so tired, but I couldn't get to sleep. I was super anxious all night, which was very unusual for me, but I just couldn't relax. I came so close several times to just grabbing my things and driving home in the middle of the night, but I convinced myself not to. Turns out I should have. If I'd gone home that night, I would have had the chance to say goodbye to my dad before he passed away that next morning. I still regret it to this day, and I promise myself that the next time I get a feeling like that, I'll listen to it. Holy shit, that's terrible. T. It was a long weekend. This is the next one, sorry. It was a long weekend, and I got invited to the beach with a few friends from Thursday to Monday. My girlfriend decided to chill at home for it, as she had some work she needed to do. Sorry, my tongue. Oh. On Friday night, I had a stupid argument with my friends about some game we were playing, so I went for a walk to cool off. I'm not usually the kind of person with a strong temper, but this friend can really get under my skin. I called my girlfriend to chat and talk about a few things. I don't know why, but I got a really sinking feeling when I started to talk to her. The best way I can describe it is I could just feel the world slow down as something in my gut said, hey, this isn't right. I tried to explain it to her, and she said it was probably just it's probably because of the argument with my friend. But I knew it was different. Anyway, I get over myself and go back and apologize to my friends and continue having a good time at the beach. But I still couldn't shake that sinking feeling. It just lingered in the back of my mind for the rest of the trip. When I get home on Monday, my girlfriend said that one of her friends has been kicked out of out of his house and asked if he could stay at our place for a few nights. I said sure, because if I was in that situation, I would really want a place to sleep that isn't on the street. So it worked out well because one of our flatmates had just moved out, so we had a spare room. And our replacement flatmate wouldn't move in until the next week, so he could sleep in his room. Albeit it's just a mattress on the floor, but it's better than sleeping rough. Anyway, the replacement flatmate comes over that night to sign some paperwork for the tenancy agreement, and everyone who was currently on the agreement needs to sign it to confirm the change. So new flatmate, old flatmate, my girlfriend, 2 other flatmates, and I meet up that night. My other flatmates have somewhat busy schedules, so we had made an effort to all be there. While this is happening, my girlfriend's friend shows up, and she shows him to his temporary room. I make an offhand comment about how I had been away for the whole weekend, because I usually don't go away for that long. My flatmate says, really? And I explain how I was at the beach. The look my flatmate gave me wasn't right. I got that sinking, not right feeling again almost instantly. I quickly changed subjects and finished up the paperwork. Later that night, the same flatmate knocked on my door while my girlfriend was in the shower. She says, were you serious about what you said? Again, that feeling just comes right back, and I respond sheepishly, yeah. She chokes up for a minute and explains to me. I lost my spot. Okay, she chokes up for a minute and explains to me that while I was away, my girlfriend had a friend over on Friday night. The same one who is now staying here. I start thinking about how maybe he was kicked out earlier, but maybe went back for a bit or something, until my flatmate then explains that she thought she heard my girlfriend and I having really loud sex on Friday, as she had to knock on my door and tell us to keep it down. And this is when I start putting all the pieces together, and that sinking feeling just comes back in full force. I'll cut the rest of the story short because I don't feel like it relates to the not right feeling, that question. I confronted my girlfriend about it and she denied it. Mentioned that my flatmate said, and she broke down. I kicked the guy out, but he had found another place, so just as well. Break up with my girlfriend after a week of arguing and fighting, trying to work something out. About a month or so later, they get engaged. Turns out she had been cheating with this guy for 6 months. She had also forgotten about other times she cheated on me, so I dodged a major bullet, although it was more of a crawling away while wounded. In conclusion, I should have paid a lot more attention to that not right feeling I had, and I now know that feeling means that I need to follow it. To anyone who spent time out of their day to read this, thank you and stay safe. Well, I mean, that's what he says. Jeez. Wow, that's shitty. Oh my gosh. That was a really long one if anyone's still here. Cheating anyone makes you crazy, man or woman. I think it's going to make anybody crazy. Crackheads and meth people are dangerous. Yeah. Cheating woman makes you a fool. Cheating man makes you a fool. There's 2 sides to the coin, man. Yeah. Cheating people make people crazy because they make them feel like it's their fault. Next one. My mom and dad were at some sort of festival and my dad felt some sort of change in the air, like something bad was going to happen. He and my mom get out of there quickly, and wouldn't you know it, some drunk dude with a gun started firing at the crowd. That was it to that one. That was really short. Holy crap. Short but powerful that one was. Had a man come into the fast food restaurant where I used to work several years ago. It was just before closing. There were two of us up front, a manager a few yards away on a personal phone call, and someone in the back doing dishes. This is a big, rough-looking, blue-collar kind of guy. This is relevant in a second. He orders a 3-piece meal, and my friend rings him up while I pack his food. My friend goes, "Your total is such and such dollars." Hear the register open. I hear the guy say, "You have very soft hands. Do you moisturize?" Instant alarm bells going off in my brain. This guy looks like a man's man. Not the kind of guy who would ever chat about skincare regimen. My friend is an idiot, though, and starts prattling on about lotions and whatnot. I don't do anything. What am I going to do? Call him out on being too girly? But the next thing I hear is, "Oh, looks like you gave me the wrong change. You gave me a 20 and 4 5s instead of a 5 and 4 20s. Bam, we got ourselves a flimflammer. My friend is still oblivious at this point, and the guy is literally showing her the 20 and 4 5s. How can she argue? I'm still a little green myself, not sure what to do, and don't approve of anything. Then he hits her again. Asks for change for another large bill, distracts her with random chatter. Then, oh, look at that, she messed up his change again. By that time, I had gone to my manager and tried to make him get off the phone. Took him a second to understand what I was saying. By the time he got to the front, the charade was coming to an end. The guy saw us staring at him, grabbed his food and left. Our manager counted the drawer, and he ended up getting just over $200 out of my idiot friend. And she had to pay it all back. None of it would have happened if she followed the store policy of counting change back in the customer's hand. Never really looked into the legality of that, and it's too far in the past now to do anything about it. I mean, that's the end of that story. That's not really scary, but that's a good hint when somebody's trying to scam you. That's yikes. Oh my goodness. All right. Next one. A few years ago, I was getting into our local arts community. Now, there's a guy who owns a beautiful gallery space as well as the entire remainder of the multiple-story building. He does intricate stained glass work and has breathtaking glass installations in various sections of the building, and the space is just dreamy. It was my first time checking out the space and meeting him, and he waved a friend of his over who happened to be a construction worker that had been helping him remodel the building. He invited his friend to give me a tour of the place, and I was excited over the warm welcome and the check out the rest of the building, so I followed the guy without a second thought. Oh no. We walked around for maybe 10 minutes when we arrived at a somewhat isolated section of the third floor where there wasn't any working lights in the next room, and we were heading toward it. The guy made a comment to me about the view from the windows being amazing. He waved me over and was like, "Come on, come check it out." I felt really vaguely weird at the time and was like, "No, it's cool. I'll stay out here. I don't want to trip on anything." He tried to put his hand on my arm to guide me through the room. I said no again, took my hand back. And the look on his face shifted. His grip tightened as he tried to pull me into the room with him. Cue panic mode. Another girl happened to be walking up the stairs around the same time that this happened, and I pulled my hand away again and said that I was going to follow her back downstairs. Told the gallery owner about it, and he brushed it off, saying that I misunderstood that the other guy has problems, and that it's hard for him to communicate with other people sometimes. I still see him around the town room once in a while, and he's always surrounded by drugged-out girls that are clearly unable to function. Him having his arms draped around them just disgusts me on so many levels. He's an absolute creep. I've told everyone I've met that he was a predator, and to avoid him. Ooh. Yikes. It's so quiet in here. Oh, bye, Paul. Bye. Time to pull your pistol. Yeah, that was a weird one. These ones are trying to make me fall asleep. Is it just me? Let's see. Let's see if this one's any good. If this one's no good, we'll go to the other ones. We've been reading for over an hour now, though, so I might just stick with these. So this one is I was female, or I, a female, was just 20 in London on my own. I met a guy, I can't remember how, and we went to a pub for a drink. I took a photo of him with my camera, and then he asked for the camera and took some photos of me and looked through them. We left the pub, and he was trying to get me to go somewhere in particular while I just wanted to stay in public and go to another pub. I felt like something was off, and he seemed to get angry that I wasn't willing to go with him. So I basically sprint walked away from him. Later, I was looking through the photos on my camera and realized that he had deleted the photo I took of him. And I'm certain he had a bad plan for me, and I learned a really valuable lesson that day. And there's an edit to the story underneath it. Overseas experience. Oh, there's 2 edits to it. Sorry, I'm Australian, and the abbreviation is so common for me here, it's clear. It's very common for Australians and Kiwis to head over to London or Europe for a time before settling down into our careers or families. Also, this was about 15 years ago, so it wasn't on my phone. It was a basic camera. It happened at the start of my 4-month trip around Europe, and I was so much more careful after that. There's a second edit that says, a lot of Australians are commenting about not being familiar with the overseas term. Okay, I don't understand that, so this must be from someone else. All right. Check the chat, see if everyone's still awake. Everyone's still awake? Yeah. No, I'm dozing off a little. I'm tired, though. Okay. Let's get some, there was 50 of them, and we are 3/4 of the way through. 9:35. I'd love to know everybody's, like, scary story, the scariest thing that's ever happened to them. I always feel like there's something when I say that's the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. And I hate when I say that because it's like the universe is like, "Oh, yeah, watch this." So, careful what you say out loud. Oh. Q Master Q online. Okay. Yeah, I know, I do have to. Thank you. That's a very smart thing for you to say. I don't recall. I feel like you're someone else who usually has a different online presence. That's just my gut telling me, but yeah. I have a sippy right here of some ginger ale. Excuse me. Did I tell you guys the bear story? It was quite a oh, are you leaving? Okay. You don't get any triggers? Oh. Okay, so I think I told you guys this story, but my friend and I went up north. This was a while ago. Years ago, actually. We went to Indian River. And so if you're from Michigan, you know that's like right before you get to like a Mackinac Bridge. But we go to this gas station, and it's like it's like a gas station, and it's like a store and a restaurant, and then like it's like there's like putt thing, and then like a store, and there's a sphere thing you can get in, and then way up they're selling tickets to go see the bear. They've got this bear in like a dog kennel. I'm like, oh my god. We're looking at it, and this guy's going in to feed him. He's all scared, and we're like joking with each other, like, dude, that bear's gonna eat someone. Like that doesn't look right. You put a bear in a like dog kennel. So cut to 5 days later, we're leaving Indian River, and we're gonna go to that same gas station and notice that there's an ambulance there. Because the kid that worked at the gas station was the person that was responsible for feeding the bear. And the bear had literally slashed him from the right shoulder all the way down to his left hip. Yeah. Yeah, maybe you guys didn't hear that before, but yep, that happened. All right. All right. So a friend of mine was renting a room from someone. And I was 18. He was 24. but we both looked really young at the time. I came over one day to visit, and the guy who was renting from gave off this super creepy vibe, like he was undressing us with his eyes. I can't even describe the look. It made me feel so skeeved out. My friend told me the guy would have random visitors come over with kids, and they would go to the shed, stay in there for about an hour, and then leave. Ew, gross. We suspected something was very off and that drugs were probably involved. So one night, when he was gone, we broke into the shed, found a large mirror, a dirty mattress, a video camera, and a bunch of tapes. We called CPS, the police, and moved all of his stuff out that night. We found out the guy was a convicted sex offender for molesting his son and was giving junkies free drugs in return for raping their children and making child porn. Oh my God, I'm so sorry that I read that on here and didn't even warn anybody because I didn't know myself. Oh my God. Oh God. Okay, I'm so sorry. There's 2 edits to this. It says we also found out he had previously been renting out the spare room to runaway drug addict teens to give them free rent if they let him, you know. Another edit says this blew up very fast. We didn't actually find out what was going on in the shed for certain. I should have worded it differently, but it just assumed that's what happened when we saw inside the shed and all the other details combined together. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out, but I never knew what happened in the end because the phone calls were anonymous tips. The only name I had to go off was the guy's middle name, which he went by Frank. I found the trailer park this occurred at and searched for convicted sex offenders in the area, and I was able to find him. The vehicle listed matches his car at the time and previous address listed at the trailer park. His offender conviction was for bad things. I'll just say that, and the whole story happened in 2005. Oh boy, his current whereabouts are unknown. So the guy's not even in jail. Awesome. That is fantastic. Ew. God. I feel like I have to apologize, you guys, because I didn't know that. Most of these, I didn't read these in advance, and I really should do that. God. Well, a 4-year-old child in a cage with a tiger to pet it. She was mauled and the tiger was put down. Yeah, what idiot parent would put their kid in a cage with a tiger? Oh my God. Man. Ugh. That's just crazy. Like, I'm always surprised at that. There was a small roadside zoo not too far away from where I lived, and they had a tiger in a 10-foot by 10-foot cage, and 5 days after I had visited the zoo, the owner thought it was good. Okay. I didn't read that part first. My bad. Wow. That is crazy. Ooh. Next one says, I lived in the Middle East for about 9 years. One night, I was out with 3 friends of mine, and we were hanging out having a smoke on the street. 2 cars pulled up, and about 6 or 7 grown men stepped out of the car rather aggressively right in front of us. As soon as that happened, one of the guys I was with very quickly took off, and the other guy leaned in and grabbed my shoulder and said, "Your name is Ahmed, and you're Muslim." And that's when I thought to myself, something is very wrong here. Turned out this was a group of Muslim extremists, and they stood really close to us and started telling us about their brotherhood. The guy I was with, who was Muslim, did most of the talking until a military truck pulled up, guns drawn, and told him to fuck off. They then said that they were just chatting and causing no problems. Military asked us if we were fine and told us to stay out of this area late at night. What? I still have the shit stains in my pants even though this happened 10 years ago. Yeah, I would think so too. So they were like, what, seconds away from being killed? I'm guessing. Damn. Ooh. 2 people getting exotic animals who maul them happens far more frequently than you think. Yeah, I mean, why? I don't know why people. I don't know. I feel like I can't comment on too many things in the chat because it'll just send me off in a 15-minute tangent about something, and I'll go in several different directions and not even remember where I started. Hence the squirrel comments. Anyways. The next one. When I first started driving, I got the old family car. After a couple of months, I noticed it had this weird shake whenever I was in park. Told my parents and they ignored me. As I probably would have if my brand new to driving child complained to me about the car feeling weird. At one point, my mom got annoyed with me asking and told me to ignore it because the cars aren't meant to sit and park. Turns out, 3 out of the 4 engine mounts had completely eroded away. Suck on that, Mom. I mean, that's terrifying. What would I mean, I'm not a mechanic, but what happens if all 4 engine mounts come out? Does the thing just not like drop right out of the car? And can you imagine if you're going down the expressway when that happens? Anybody that's a mechanic or knows something about cars, tell me what would happen. I'm just curious. Pretty sure, would you not die from that, or? Oh my God. Yeah, it would fall out, right? Next one. So I was suddenly going to the bathroom constantly and had a lot of blood, and I was convinced I had a really serious issue. Went to the doctor, did some tests. They shrugged me off because they were negative. Another doctor, same thing. Finally went to the ER one night because the pain was so bad. They found a cyst on my ovary that was the size of a house cat. Had emergency surgery to get it and my right ovary removed, and they said everything would get better. My issues were still there a month post-op, and I was having really hard recovery. I knew something else was going on. Told my surgeon, and he literally said, "Take Pepto." After I'd been dealing with these issues for months, I insisted something else was still wrong. And finally, after begging, he sent me to see a GI specialist, and guess what? I was diagnosed with severe ulcerative colitis and rare liver disease. But no one took it seriously for 7 months. Man, she could have died. Holy shit. Yes, do not ever let your doctors bully you into you're fine. No, go to a different doctor. Oh my goodness. That's just bullshit right there. All right. Next one. I was in a park in a rough area shooting hoops. See some transients, homeless people sitting on a bench nearby, talking, looking at me. I think I'm being paranoid and keep shooting around with my earbuds in, but turn off the sound so I can hear. I'm by myself and it's about 5 p.m. No way anything will happen to me, right? One walks over, past me, to a bench that's facing behind me. I felt like something weird was weird when another guy showed up and took a spot to my right on another bench. So like a triangle I was surrounded. I got spooked and acted like I was done and walked off briskly to my car. They watched me the whole way. Driving away, I felt like maybe I was being prejudiced or racist, and was actually feeling a bit guilty. Later that day, 2 of those dudes were arrested for robbing some guy at the courts at night point, wanting his phone. So I definitely feel like I dodged a bullet there. Well, that story could have been a lot shorter. Oh my God. Wah, wah, wah. Oh my God. We had a cat who was asleep on my sister's bed under her open bedroom window. One night she was woken up by what sounded like 6 large dogs growling and someone taking off up the driveway. Always assume people have bad intentions. Oh, okay. Next one. So I had this regarding a girl the year below me at school. A really lovely girl, very clever and friendly to everyone. I spoke to her on my last day at school, talking about where I decided to go for university. She told me that she really wanted to apply at Cambridge, and she was working really hard to get the grades. I don't know why, but I suddenly felt really uneasy and sad for her, particularly because she was so chipper and optimistic about it. At the time, I put this down to the fact that getting past the interview stage for Cambridge is really tough. About 18 months later, I'm at university and I bump into another different girl who was from my same school but also a year behind. She was really quite upset. And as the university term was only 3 weeks into her first year, I was concerned about her feeling so down. It turned out that she had just received news that the lovely girl who wanted to go to Cambridge had died 2 nights ago. She did get into Cambridge to study philosophy, and she had just started her lectures after Freshers' Week and had contracted a bacterial meningitis. She was feeling under the weather, putting it down to Freshers' flu, and went to bed early one night and never woke up the next day. Oh my God. That's so sad. Check the chat. Cats rule. Last month I work in a Domino's, and the delivery driver was out on 2 different deliveries, which can take a while. But I started feeling anxious, like something is off, even though he'd only left 5 minutes before that. Called him and he didn't pick up. My boss called half an hour later and told me that the driver had a serious accident and I will have no driver for at least 2 hours. He was in the hospital for a week, but I was so stressed because he had had a heart attack a month before that and he wasn't even supposed to be working. And he's fine now. Oh my God. Holy crap. All right. Check the chat. More of a pupper person. Yeah, these are depressing, aren't they? Okay. What do you want me to read now? We're almost done. 9:50. We're gonna read the rest of them. There's only a couple left, and then I'm curious to know if anybody made a resolution that they've already broken, because it's only the 7th day of January. We're a weekend. I'm not really a resolutions person, just a goals person. But so this says it starts out years ago. I'm working one morning. My fiance's off. She texts me around 10 or 11 and says she has gone out to breakfast with her family and they bought her flowers and she was having a good morning, blah, blah. I was glad to hear that because she didn't really get along well with her family. The more the day went along, the more it all didn't sound right. Later that evening, she was acting unusual and she wouldn't tell me what was going on. So I checked the cell phone account activity and learned that not only had she been texting and calling this random guy constantly, but she had been repeatedly lying to me about what she was doing or why she'd go do this and that or get off the phone with me, like go back to work. There were so many instances where she hung up with me immediately, called him, and had lengthy conversations. I then pointed at the flowers that were sitting on my table in my apartment. Really nice flowers, vase with marbles, probably cost $60. Asked where they were from. The relationship ended right then and there. Oh. Oh my God. Dun dun dun. Tell some jokes at the end. Yeah, I will. I will. We'll read this one and then we'll look for something funny to look at. This one says, I was at the laundromat with my boyfriend one day. Gives me coins to put in the dryers across from us. And I noticed an older man standing by the dryers. He had this strange look on his face, and immediately my intuition was screaming at me. Something in my body froze up and everything felt heavy. I told my boyfriend I wasn't going over there. Frustrated, he took the coins and started the dryers himself. We went to the market down the street to kill time before our clothes were finished drying. And as we pulled up to the laundromat, there were 4 police cars out front. When we walked in there was a mother and a daughter hysterically talking to the police. That skeevy man had molested a 14-year-old girl and hit on the mom. Definitely a reminder to always listen to those signals and cues from your body. Oh my God, gross. Jeez. Ew. My God. Ugh. Super gross. Right. Gotta get out of there. We're gonna try and find something hilarious to look at. Is there ever a celebrity whose face pops up every once in a while and you're like, holy crap, I forgot they existed. And now they're doing something that's like not even acting anymore, and that's how you found them? Oh yeah, you guys are still reading or listening to that. Okay, so I found, since Valentine's Day is coming up in more than a month, I found horrible pickup lines, and they're already funny. We did that one other time in a live stream. It was pretty funny. It was a bunch of people doing it together. Trying to screen share it for you guys so you can see it. Just a moment. It's gonna look weird for a moment. My love for you is like diarrhea. I can't hold it in. Are you related to Yoda? Because Yoda-licious. Oh my god. I'd be curious to know what the worst pickup line is that you guys either did to somebody or received from someone. I'm just curious. You're so hot. You should be on my ceiling. Oh my god. Doesn't make any sense. Maybe it's because it's supernatural. Hey babe, are you a camera? Because every time I look at you, I smile. That's not even, is that a pickup line? You're so hot, even my pants are falling for you. Ew. Oh my god. I'm not gonna, those are horrible. Text fail. Those are usually the ones that make me laugh hysterically or like, no. Here's where I go down a rabbit hole. Like if I get on Pinterest, and I should check the chat. I can't even check the chat because I'm sharing the screen with you guys. But if I go on Pinterest and look for Tumblr posts, I can get lost in this. What's this one said? Funny yard signs. Right off the bat, it's a house for sale, and right at the bottom it says, not haunted. So apparently there was a rumor going around that that was a haunted house. Wouldn't that just make people want to buy it more? I feel like it would just make people want to buy it more. Oh no, it's a slideshow. Dun dun dun. And it's from Reddit somehow. Revenge is sweet. Wife caught husband cheating. Everything must go yard sale. Ugh. This is going to take forever to get through this. Also, just seeing we're too broke. Okay, that's not even funny. No. Funny yard signs, cat found. It's a picture of a possum hissing at someone. Female, no collar, not very friendly. I think she might be scared. Not housebroken either. Found on 75th. If she's yours, called Dan. Oh my god. I'll check the chat. Now you guys are all going to see the chat too. How to cheer up in 2 easy steps. Whisper, beep boop to yourself. Repeat until not sad. Now plug your nose and say, Snape Snoop. Snape Snop. Try saying boopy dee doop in a really deep manly voice. Boop dee doop. Try to say Bubbles in the angriest voice you can. Bubbles. Somebody told me one time that it's impossible to be angry and whistle at the same time. And I think that's true. Like, have you ever try it the next time you're really mad and try to whistle? I've been so mad at one point that I couldn't even like snap myself out of it with that. So, yeah. Yeah. These Tumblr ones, I can really get like into those, but we'll just look at a couple and then we'll just end this catastrophe that's wrapping up in here. But we left that road with the damn car on the porch. I bought a pizza today and I have a complaint. Please describe the complaint. And a guy shoved a rubber boot on his head. How do you get that off? Oh my gosh. All right. I'm going to stop sharing because I feel like this is a rabbit hole I could go down for hours. You guys are just now seeing the boot. Sneep snoop. Snape snoop. Maybe that's how we should sign off from now on. No, I think everybody likes the bye. Yeah, let me know if it works next time you're mad. Now, if you have earbuds, then I'm really, really sorry about that. But and on that note, I think we're going to wrap it up. I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. Thanks for coming in and listening to me stumble along with my chomped up tongue. Did I even say that right? But we're going to call it a night now, and we'll probably try to live stream at a different time next Monday because I know that there's a lot of people in different time zones that can't come to the live streams. So try not to make it so late next time. So thank you for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. There'll be a video Wednesday and Saturday, and possibly an extra one on Friday. That's another collaboration with Celestial Nor, but it'll be on, or one of his friends or something, on my channel. So I think that'll be on Friday. So there's like a lot of extra stuff this week. So, and on that note, I'm going to say, like we always do here, and if you're new here, you don't know. And that's that we say bye in a sarcastic tone, but we don't mean it that way. I'll see you next time. Bye. Bye. Bye.